Face-to-face consultations with custom treatment plans. This is real change. Go to lowtusa.com and enter code RISE. Don't
At Westport Plaza. This is the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, officially licensed Rolex jeweler. We are at the Rawlings Experience at Westport Plaza. Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mack, Matthew Rocchio. I'm Rain Carrier. It is great to have you with us. And guys, great to see you out and about here at Westport, where this morning we're going to unveil the Major League Rawlings Gold Glove Finalists for 2024.
This is really exciting. This is my first time in here. I know the guys were live from here before, but it is stunning in here.
It's beautiful. If you're a baseball fan, this is a place. And it doesn't matter if you're in St. Louis or not. Wherever you are, you have to get to St. Louis and check out the Rawlings Experience.
So do we unveil them ourselves, or who's going to come over here and unveil them?
We are going to unveil them.
Really?
Coming up the 9 o'clock hour. Yes,
That's national news.
It is.
National news on the old opening drive.
How about that?
I love it.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Should be.
A lot going on in baseball. The LCSs continue. Yesterday, the Yankees with a 5-2 win over the Guardians. The Yankees lead that series 1-0. Former Cardinal Luke Weaver with a 5-out save, 4 of those outs via the strikeout. And the Yankees have kind of found themselves now, and they're playing the right team in Cleveland. All due respect to the Guardians, who finished with the second-best record in the American League, but it was to the Yankees. And that's a huge Game 1 win for New York. It just feels different than most Game 1s to me in a 7-game series.
Yeah, really patient at bats that I thought from them. And also Carlos Rodon, a really bounce-back effort from him. He really needed that after that first outing that we saw him in. But Luke Weaver turning into the story. Danny Mack, we talked about this yesterday, about who might be the most impactful Cardinal during the postseason. And we mentioned Luke Weaver, and honestly, it looks like he could be that guy.
Yeah, Jack Flaherty would probably be in that conversation. Luke Weaver's last 13 appearances. Didn't see this coming. He's got 17 innings and a 0 ERA. He's only walked 4. He has struck out 33 in those 17 innings. He's throwing 95, and he's got a changeup at 90 miles an hour. And to his credit, to stay in the league, he needed to change some things. He has done that, changed his grip on his changeup. And he's the third pitcher with 3 saves or more than 3 outs for the team's first 5 games of a postseason. So I know that's kind of a little meandering stat, but to put it in perspective, since 1969, there's only been 2 other guys that have done that, and they're both Yankees, Mariano Rivera and Goose Gossage. The other thing that stands out is hitting home runs. If you hit home runs, you win. Teams that out-homer the opponents are 15-6 so far in the postseason. 42% of the runs that have scored have come via the home runs. So you had Soto and Stanton last night. You had Lindor, the grand slam, also in the game with the Dodgers. So if you hit home runs, it seems like you win.
And, Dan, to that point, the Yankees were 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position last night.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You're exactly right. You hit the ball out of the ballpark, you don't need to worry about RISP.
Juan Soto looks like a Yankee to me.
He does.
Yeah, he is a Yankee.
Yeah.
He's a Yankee.
Yeah.
Somebody was saying to me that they think he's going to sign for $600 million. I don't think he's going to get $600, but he's going to be close around $500 when you look at comparable deals.
And there's only 2 teams that are going to be in the hunt, and they're both in New York.
What about the Phillies?
I would be surprised if the Phillies would go there in terms of that kind of money, Matthew.
I have to ask, just like, what makes him look like a Yankee? Are dollar signs like falling off
That's
the
part of
ball
it.
when he hits it?
Yeah. That's part of it.
Okay, I was just wondering.
The crowd, the reaction to him at Yankee Stadium,
A
how he
left-handed hitter. I mean, look at all
Yeah.
the superstars at Yankee Stadium. Mr. October, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, whether they're switch hitters or left-handed hitters. DiMaggio right-handed hitter, but Ruth Gehrig. The left-handed hitters, Roger Maris, have tended to do pretty well either at Old Yankee Stadium or this one.
The other thing, too, Brooke mentioned it, you grind out at bats. They have 34 walks in their 5 postseason games. They grind it out, and when you grind it out and make the opposition work, you're going to have a chance to get into games where you have runners on and do damage, and they've been able to do that.
Now,
They really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the patient at bats. Now, of course, another big story here. You mentioned Stanton and you mentioned Soto as well. What about Aaron Judge? Of course, you have to get him going. In 5 games during the playoffs, he has just a pair of hits, so 1 double is now 2 for 15 with an RBI. When does he get going here?
And he doesn't have a good postseason history either. He needs to get going because when you're on that stage in New York, you're going to be judged, pun intended, not intended, but he's going to be judged by how he performs in the postseason. Everybody knows what he is in the regular season. Now it's what can you do for me in the postseason?
And it's been overshadowed by Giancarlo Stanton. You know, he's had a great postseason. He's played in 32 postseason games with the Yankees. He's got 13 home runs.
Yeah.
So as long as he picks up the slack, then it's not going to be looked at as much with Judge. Now, if they both were struggling, I'd say, man, you got to get something going with Judge, which he does need to get going. But this overshadows it a little bit.
But Soto hitting 353 in the postseason, Stanton hitting 368, that does kind of offset Aaron Judge's
It does.
133. By the way, Matthew Rocchio, how did it feel to hit a home run in the playoffs?
It felt good. I feel good for my cousin. You know, he's a great guy. I've been waiting for him to come up for years. I just need to work on the pronunciation of his name.
Oh, yeah, we do need to work on that.
He does have a different pronunciation than you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I had an uncle who went over to Italy, and I'm pretty sure we say it, my family's saying it wrong too. So I have no idea what's going on with that whole thing. But good for Brian. I think they pronounce it Rocchio. Good for Brian Rocchio. It was a nice hit.
Meanwhile, the Mets took a 6-0 lead after 2 innings. Matt Vientos with a grand slam home run in the second to open up the lead to 6-0. Dodgers chipped away in the 5th and 6th. They were able to score 3, but the Mets win Game 2 of that series 7-3, and they'll go back to New York with the series even at a game apiece.
Dave Roberts sticking to his plan there. What did you guys think about him sticking with Landon Knack, obviously who didn't have his best stuff?
He came in with a 3.65 ERA in 69 innings. He gives up 5 runs in 2 innings, put the Dodgers down 6-0. When you do bullpen games, there is little margin for error. And Dave Roberts did not use his high leverage guy. Those plans crumble. And now he's got a couple of guys who are safe for Game 3, but there is little margin for error when you do a bullpen game. And he didn't use his high leverage guys early.
I don't think there was anything for Roberts to do once things got away. I mean, you weren't going to
bring those guys
bring
in.
Somebody in to pitch to Vientos in the second inning, right?
Exactly. And so I guess they could have gone with guys. They didn't do that. And it's amazing to me. The Dodgers are missing Glasnow, Gavin Stone, Dustin May, Clayton Kershaw, who says he's coming back for another year. But pen game with the L.A. Dodgers, I find that incredibly hard to believe.
And looking long term, I've been thinking about this a lot because you do have Glasnow coming back. You have Yamamoto under contract. You have Ohtani coming.
Maybe.
Yeah. My question is, do they sign Flaherty?
I think they do. I mean, they've got all the money in the world. You might as well figure that we got to bank on somebody getting hurt. We don't have enough here in 2024. Might as well bring them back.
I mean, 7 shutout innings, what he was able to do there, and he's been good for them all season since coming over. It just makes sense, especially with the amount of injuries that we already saw this season with their starting rotation. It feels like it added insurance.
Added insurance, and they got all the money to spend in the world. And they've got a couple of prospects that they really like, but they didn't feel were ready, but they think are going to be key. Bring Jack Flaherty for another go-around.
Yeah, and he'll be a big money guy. He'll probably be $100 million, 5 years at $100 million.
Probably. It seems right.
Well, like $20 million a year, don't they?
That'd be Sonny Gray.
25.
Yeah.
Isn't
Miles is right around 20.
think that Jack Flaherty at this stage would, if it's near 100 or whatever, he'll take the hometown discount. I mean, he's living his dream.
He is.
Yeah.
Seeing that video of him celebrating with his mom after the game, that was such a touch has been and his upbringing and always being there for every single one of his games. I remember him telling the story, and I'm sure you guys remember this too, where in high school, I think he felt that he wanted to quit at one time. I can't remember the full story. Quitting.
Yeah.
And so just to see him have that celebration with his mom there was so special.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool. Back in 1983, right here in St. Louis at the old Busch Stadium, the St. Louis football Cardinals and the New York Giants played a Monday night football game that in any ranking of Monday night football or the second worst, it wound up in a 20-20 tie. Neil O'Donohue missed a chip shot field goal that would have won it for the Big Red at the end of the game. Missed an extra point, missed a couple of Last night, the Bills and Jets tried to chase that down. I don't know if they caught it, but they tried to chase it down. Almost to the very end, and it wound up being a New York team that participated.
So there are 22 penalties for 204 yards. So 6 penalties were off. 6 are offset. That's 30 penalties in the game.
Unbelievable.
It was insane. It was like Flag Day. It really did feel like that. And you even had Aaron Rodgers after the game criticizing the officiating. He kind of framed it in the way, though, kind of shows you that it got a little bit out of hand. To me, though, I still think for the Jets, you know, the big story, they got rid of Robert Saleh. So what does this team look like without him? They also downgraded I guess not downgraded or moved with Nathaniel Hackett, so it's a new look offensively. And I thought they looked a little bit better, but still, it's just not capitalizing in the red zone was another big story there, and the missed field goals.
Josh Allen is a stud. I mean, he's an absolute stud. You look at how the game unfolded. Of the Buffalo Bills, but Josh Allen made plays. He's 240. And I just looked up. I just glanced at the TV very quickly, and I thought it was a linebacker. It was Josh Allen.
He's Ben Roethlisberger. He's a faster version of Ben
huge.
Roethlisberger.
Yeah, in the way that he avoids the rush and creates plays the week before, but he's got to be a guy that you look at for sure.
Yeah. By the way, that 1983 game, O'Donohue missed 3 field goals in overtime. He hit a field goal at the end of regulation to send it to kick field goals, game winners, and missed them all.
It was windy last night in New York, but I don't know if you can blame it on the wind.
I don't know.
They were just clanks, man. He just does happen.
And this is the day of the St. Louis Blues home opener, the Minnesota Wild in town. We've got a big pep rally starting at Union Station at 2:30 till 4:45. Early, and of course you can hear the action. It's a 6:30 face-off, 5:30 pregame here on 101 ESPN.
So Chris Zimmerman said there's a video that brought him to tears.
Yeah.
President of the Blues. This is why you need to get really look at a lot of that stuff, but I did get a sneak peek. He said it brought him to tears. So let's see what kind of video they come out with. It'll be fun to see, and should be a great atmosphere tonight.
And we're going to talk to the TV voice of the Blues, John Kelly, later on in this program. Looking forward to John. And, of course, starting at 9 o'clock, we're going to have the finalists for the Major League Baseball Rawlings Sporting Goods Gold Glove Finalists right here, first on 101 ESPN.
Is there a lock? Do we have a lock that's going to get a Gold Glove? Can you think of one that just jumps off the page?
In either league. You know, that used to be a thing with Ozzy, right?
Oh, yeah.
You knew that Ozzy was going to win it. That's a great question. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
It used to be a thing, too, where offensive-minded players were awarded Gold Gloves. And now that you've gotten to a sabermetric look at defense, and there are ways to quantify it, it's gotten a better way to look at just defensive players, even if the guy hits 210.
I will give you a lock.
Say Nolan Arenado, except for last year, because he was a lock every single year.
Right, and this year, because Matt Chapman's going to win it.
I would say that Matt Chapman wins it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this later. I think there could be 3 from the Cardinals that would have a shot.
Okay, well,
is that too many?
Hear those. I don't know if I disagree or not.
I'd say they'd be on the list.
Yeah, okay.
So that makes it a shot.
Think about it. Coming up, Week 5 in the NFL is complete, and we've got 4 downs from Week 5 in the NFL next on 101 ESPN. Time for four downs from Week 5 in the NFL. And, guys, the attack during the game on Sunday. And then came back and coached the rest of the game.
So you can relate to this.
Jim Harbaugh is one tough cookie. Yeah, I think I probably.
Did you get all sweaty and jumpy? What happened?
Well, no, I ran out of breath. Harbaugh, who has had an ablation before. He's had an irregular heartbeat in the past. He had to have a blood thinner and another medication to keep his heart from spiking. But not many guys would come back during the game, a stressful situation like that.
You were looking at him.
I love the guy. I love the intensity.
That really scared me, though, when he went into that blue tin. And then there was a lot of questions about what was going on. I was like, what in the world?
Yeah.
Well starched.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I do too. So he's impressive. And he's a good coach. Their team's going to be in the playoffs.
Yes, they are.
Right now, he's sitting with a QBR of just 21.5. The Browns are 1-5 and dead last in the AFC North, and they are just really struggling, and so is Deshaun Watson. The Browns are averaging 240 yards per game, the lowest of any team in the NFL by 13 yards. They've scored 80 points on offense in 6 games, which ranks second lowest, just ahead of the Miami Dolphins, who 50 yards in a game since Week 3 of last season. I think it's time that we move on from Deshaun Watson. I say we. I don't know why the Browns haven't done it yet, but I think everybody else is screaming that at this point at the Browns.
Kevin Stefanski, if you're the head coach of the Browns, I mean, you're put in such a bad spot because he's got to play him because of the money that's owed to him, but it doesn't give you a legitimate shot to win the game. It just doesn't. He's awful. He just shouldn't be under center. So, the coach comes under fire. Then you look at some players that potentially could be traded away. I mean, they're going to have a top 5 pick coming up in the NFL draft because they're just not going to be able to win games because of him. It's awful.
Bill Barnwell has a piece up at ESPN.com in which it lays out statistically why Deshaun Watson is the worst quarterback of this century.
Century might be a little much.
Well, no, since 2000, it's in the last 24 years, he's the worst regular quarterback numerically out there.
Especially when you're talking about starting quarterback, too.
So that doesn't take into account the money that's owed to him. This is just what we have statistically on what he's done on the field.
Yes.
Wow. I was alive in St. Louis in 2008. I have a rebuttal.
Who's that?
Just, there was just years while I'll have rebuttals. Just I could throw out there. Kellen Clemens.
Clemens was better than Deshaun Watson.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Keith Knoll.
Keith Knoll, and what do you start 5 games? I don't know if you count him. How about this? 566 quarterbacks have at least 100 passing attempts in the first 6 weeks since 2000. Of those 566 with at least 100 pass attempts, Watson ranks at or near the bottom of the league in virtually every metric. 565th of 566 in yards per attempt, 565th in yards per drop back, 566th, that would be last in first down rate. And his better in passer rating because it doesn't include the one major flaw in his game, which is obviously completion percentage, which is, he's able to do that because he's not throwing the ball downfield.
How do you justify that to your fans? I don't know how you do. You can't continue to play him. You got to give your fan base a reason to have some kind of hope, and he's got none.
Exactly.
No.
Guaranteed money, which is just absolutely ridiculous looking at it, and what they gave up to the Texans, and look at how the Texans are doing right now.
All right, third down, Minnesota. In 3 of the last 4 years, Kevin O'Connell has been a head coach or offensive coordinator for a team. That team has been in the top 10 in scoring. And the Vikings right now are 6th at the moment. They play Detroit this Sunday. And then I'll give you another team. I think we might be sleeping on the Packers. They're 4th in the league at point differential at plus 41. So I stayed with the NFC North. I looked at those 2 teams, but Kevin O'Connell has done a hell of a job with the Minnesota Vikings and giving them a chance to win. Now, they're coming off a bye week, so kind of quiet around them, but you can't overlook what he's done and the offensive mind and taking a QB that many thought was gone and done, made him a starter, did that with Kirk Cousins, made him a lot of money. This guy's really good at what he does.
He is really
He's exceptional.
Good. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. And I guess a lot of it depends on what they do as a team, but if you're the Vikings, do you count on J.J. McCarthy? Or if Darnold gets you to the playoffs or deep into the playoffs, do you sign him and say, we hope J.J. McCarthy winds up being okay, but Darnold's our guy right now?
I think you sign Darnold. I think if he gets you to the playoffs and you make a run, I mean, I'm not totally sold on him yet. We still got a long ways to go in this regular season, but I think I got to bring him back. Now, you could have said the same thing about Kirk Cousins, who was putting up numbers, now did tear his Achilles, but you could have made a case for him to come back too. But I think I got to bring him back on a short-term deal if he accepts that, and let JJ sit and watch a little bit more. It's not like you're wasting years with these guys. They're learning by sitting, and let them sit and learn.
It's a good play.
You've seen it work out for other quarterbacks, too, where they learn from somebody. I think a lot of people just keep waiting for the wheels to fall off for the Vikings and for Sam Darnold, and it just hasn't yet. I find the NFC North just so fascinating because you have a lot of teams doing well. Now, the Lions, they did lose Aiden Hutchinson the other day, which is a huge loss for them, but they've been doing well. The Bears actually picking up steam here. And the Packers, as you mentioned, that's an underrated team, too.
And it was interesting. Dan Campbell said that he's not convinced that
coach.
Right. No doubt. Well,
but it doesn't look like he's coming back.
Think about who the coach is, though.
Yeah, that's true.
But a 1 and a 2 and try to get maybe even more 2 1s. Get a Myles Garrett or a Max
I'd call
Crosby.
Cleveland in a heartbeat.
I would, too.
And I'd go to Vegas, and I'd say, what's it going to take?
Thing they could do is try to get Hassan Reddick.
I thought about that one too.
Yeah.
The number one, though, I thought a place for you.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
Finally, 4th down, the Dallas Cowboys. Head coach Mike McCarthy said yesterday of their losing, and they've lost. So the Cowboys are at San Francisco in their next game on October 27th. Then they go to Atlanta. Then they're home against Philadelphia and Saquon Barkley. We all know how the Cowboys defend the run. Then they get the Houston Texans at home. Then they go to Washington, and they have to face Jaden Daniels. Then they get the Giants at home. Maybe Thanksgiving is their next win. Then they've got Cincinnati at home. Cincinnati will run all over them. Then they go to Carolina. Okay, let's give a W. I wonder exactly.
The thing, too, when you have the losses that they've had, the manner in which they've lost, that's when a head coach gets fired. Cowboys are now 0. They have lost by a collective 82 points, have trailed by at least, which stands at in the NFL. But you know what? He hung on to Jason Garrett forever. He doesn't fire head coaches, it seems like. So maybe Mike McCarthy finds a way to get
season moves or lack thereof that they did this offseason, that's on Jerry Jones. He's the GM of this team. I think it would just be a scapegoat option if they got rid of Mike McCarthy. It just seems like the obvious answer doesn't fix anything.
How do you not bring in Derrick Henry? He lives there.
Yeah,
he wanted to play
ridiculous.
there.
Yeah.
And he's been awesome.
Yeah.
He's been incredible.
He's going to play for the Super Bowl champions, probably.
You think so?
They're pretty good. They're hard to stop.
What about their defense?
Their defense is really good.
Yeah.
So, and once they're healthy, they'll be even better. They do it. I don't know about their defensive coordinator replacing Mike McDonald, but they've got enough talent there. They can get after the quarterback. Their corners are great. They've got the best safety in the game. So I would say that they're Kyle Hamilton. I would say the Ravens' defense is pretty good.
So he won't get MVP, but should Derrick Henry be looked at right now for what he's doing for that team, the way that he's opened things up for Lamar, should he be looked at as an MVP candidate?
I think he should be looked at for MVP.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He probably won't get it.
Yeah.
He's not a QB.
Yeah.
QB usually gets it.
Right.
But Derrick Henry would be in my conversation.
And he's on pace for almost 2,000 yards.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
He's enjoying it, that's for sure.
Yep.
The opening drive for later on in the show. But coming up here on 101 ESPN, which Cardinals, if any, do you
yeah. Thank you. Home or refinance, or if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things. Let's make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. We called him this morning. It's Stewie. We're talking about 100% financing for purchases. Stewie, thanks for being with us. If it's a new home you're looking to purchase, he'll get you to the closing table fast. Try 10 days, get you the best interest rate possible. Also has the bagel loan. That can help you out too. What's the bagel loan? If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, no closing costs. Stewie is your guy. He makes it easy. Any questions on rates, the industry, or the trends, give Stewart a call. Here is his direct personal cell phone, 314-324-4440. 314-324-4440. Or Stewie, what else can we do? Google the bagel loan. Oh yeah. Google that bagel loan.
Camera looks better anyway.
How's the text line, man?
It does.
What's up?
Sid, how's that text line coming?
Fine.
G-Loop. Or what about it?
Next break.
What school are you in?
Next break.
Okay.
Last night with 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Randy, the
Even though we are at Westport, the Rawlings Experience, Dodie Rallman has us set up so that the Air Alliance studio cam is working. All you need to do is go to YouTube and type in 101 ESPN STL, and you can watch us with the Gold Glove in the background here at Westport Plaza. Okay, we're going to reveal the Gold Glove finalists in the 9 o'clock hour today. Guys, I think there are a couple of opportunities for the Cardinals to win Gold Gloves, and I think there will be a crime committed if Mason Wynn does not win the Gold Glove at shortstop. I think that people should go to jail if Mason Wynn is not the Gold Glove winner. Not just a finalist, but he's the one guy I look at with the Cardinals, and I say, okay, he should be in the list of 3 to get an award.
Oh, he has to be, and you're right. It would be a crime if Mason Wynn wasn't in this conversation. He has to be because he had 14 defensive runs saved this season, and we talked about how much he really impressed offensively this season. He hit 57 RBIs. He also had 11 stolen bases, but really he was even better defensively. I mean, he was a human highlight reel this season, and his arm was a show stealer. There's so much to talk about what he was able to do defensively. He deserves to be in that conversation.
I think Nolan Arenado is going to get back there. I think he'll be a finalist. Bounce back year for him. Defensively, I look at Donovan because of his versatility. Now, primarily he was in left field, which probably hurts him, but I do think versatility is a part of what they look at, and he won the Gold Glove, what was it, 2 years ago because of that versatility.
And yeah, they have a utility Gold Glove
they
now.
Do.
That's what he won.
Mm-hmm.
And Mason Wynn would be on my list. And I'll put Paul Goldschmidt on there, too. And, you know, when you talk about the Cardinals walking away from Paul Goldschmidt, if indeed that happens, good luck on your first base defense next year, because you're not going to have it like Goldie has provided it for the last, 6 years he's been in St. Louis. He's been outstanding.
He's got the reputation. Christian Walker's won a couple of Gold Gloves now since Goldie left Arizona, although he didn't play much this year. He was hurt for a good portion of the year. That could hurt him. Bryce Harper actually had really good metrics as a defense.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, and I think part of this comes down to that. But the voting has changed because of can quantify some of the numbers that would guys move left, right. In some ways, Ayers was player that makes more errors might be getting to more baseballs than half the league. So that
analytics and technology really does benefit people. Not in every aspect of the game, clearly, but defensively, not to help you play the game, but to help you analyze the game. I think it really does benefit.
You look at here, or is it outs above average defensive run saves? And you mentioned too with Nolan Arenado, he had just 9 errors by splitting time between left field, as you mentioned, 105 games, second base 53 games.
Look hard at that. I think that in his range is not. I think he'll be in the conversation because of all the different.
Never dive for a ball.
Right.
And that's why he would get, and he could throw a guy out, but he would never make the extra effort. So he had less. You don't see a guy every.
Baseballs, there's more. Made 1 error, so we're going to award him the Gold Glove. I'll go back to what we were talking about earlier, too. For the longest time, prior to these metrics, reputation was part of this. Like, you were going to win it because of your reputation of being a great player. The other part was what you did offensively. Right or wrong, it just went to some offensive players that.
Perfect example, but I can tell you, one
example.
time Rick Hummel and I sat in Joe Torre's office, and Joe Torre basically had us go through and decide, and then he filled out the thing, but we were just going through the names. He's strong, led the National League in defensive runs saved in center field. He had 12 because they've got a huge center field there. He was a less than those other guys. Do you look at
conversation. But because of the three that you mentioned, I think those three will get a harder look maybe than Michael Ciani. And he also missed a little bit of time. He's a great player in terms of his defense, and I would put him the leader in the clubhouse for me.
And Cardinals aren't going to have any finalists at catcher, right?
No, sir.
No.
Second base, it was just so much of a – it was a roller coaster. You never knew who was going to be there, right? And then right field, not going to be the right fielder.
No.
Right? And if a guy like Donovan wins, it'll be as a utility. So we aren't going to have the left fielder in St. Louis either, right?
No.
So we've given pretty much every possibility, I think.
The only problem is he's a rookie, and sometimes I think that is a knock when the voting is done, is how long you've been in the league, and I'll go back to it. It's reputation. If you have the reputation of being a great player, Nolan I agree with, but I bet he is.
Nobody's blown him out of the water to like. Do you give Ryan McMahon the edge over Arenado?
No.
I don't. So I agree with you because of what he's done in the past. Because of what I know Nolan Arenado can do, I would definitely have him as one of my top three.
You know, one of the cool things that the Raw, but they give an NAIA Gold Glove for baseball. They give college players NAIA.
You got the second for all of the minor leagues. All the minor league players in every league, they only give one Gold Glove per position. And Victor Scott II won the Gold Glove in center field in 2023.
I wonder how they vote on that. I would assume the managers would do that in their respective leagues.
Yeah, I would.
That would make a lot of sense.
Now, there are games on a different aspect of this is that all the games are on TV. So if you want to watch a West Coast player and find out how good he is defensively, let's go to your TV and watch him.
Okay, one other quick thing here. Let's talk about the Platinum Glove for just a second. 2 second basemen led all of baseball in defensive runs saved. Bryce Strang of Milwaukee, Andres Jimenez of Cleveland. Patrick for second in defensive runs saved. That would be a Platinum Glove possibility as far as I'm concerned. And then Matt Chapman of the Giants, we mentioned him earlier for third base. 17 defensive runs saved at third base this year.
So for catchers, I'd look at pop-up time, release staff, but that is something to consider. I mean, the catcher is involved in every play, and I think that gets overlooked. I mean, people say, well, you just throw into a catcher, and he's got to do this, that, and the other. You got to be able to frame the ball. You got to be able to throw the ball. It's been important forever.
I'm still thinking about, too, with center field, about the future of the Cardinals, because you mentioned Victor Scott, what he was able to do, but also Michael Ciani. He was very impressive in center field. What do they do with that moving forward?
Which one's going to hit?
And I don't think you can play either of them on a corner because I don't think you have enough offense from either of them to be a corner outfielder.
Yeah, they get two.
They also think that Ciani has a higher upside now offensively than Victor Scott II. It is the opening drive on 101 ESPN from the Rawlings Experience at Westport. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It. Get your text into the year.
ESPN, brought to you by Sumner One. It's time for
You can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get Your Text.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit Gloria has the
Take it or leave it.
Brooke, Dan.
Could I even
Right.
show up?
Matthew, what do you got for us?
Take it or leave it. This weather is better than summer.
Oh, I'm going to leave
I'm
that.
going to say this right now.
So we got
Leave
right
it.
now. Is it 50 degrees?
It worries me when I find out I live in the same city as some of these people.
It's gonna
Are
be
you a
cold
summer guy?
tomorrow morning, too.
I'm not a this kind of guy.
46 and cloudy. By the time I hit the course today, it's only going to be
In like-
55 degrees.
In like 2 days, I'll be a this kind of guy because it'll be 70 degrees at noon instead of.
Yeah, no.
No, this sucks.
Summer's way better. And getting up to go to work with the sun shining is way better.
Yeah,
than this,
Way
too.
better.
it is. It really
you playing
is.
golf today?
I am, yeah.
It's going to be chilly. Bundle up.
I think I'm just going to wear this.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there an
won't be-
event that you're playing at?
So many times, Dan, what I'll do is auction myself off to go play golf with people.
Oh,
When I
okay.
do, it's not that, Brooke. No, to play golf.
You're the one that
It's
framed it that
to
way.
Play golf. So this is one of those events. I've got a couple of those this week where people at auction purchased golf with Randy. So I'm doing that today.
So
Randy
that's like
sells
doing,
himself.
Oh, yeah. He sells himself all the time.
Exactly.
Take it or leave it. Now's a good time to remind all young players: do not record your team celebrations.
Oh, take it. Yes, 100%.
Take it. Oh.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, Mike Schultz already out of it, man. That brings back memories.
I'm going to go back to this golf thing with you.
Yes.
So does that like turn into the fight? Are you just answering trivia questions the whole
Oh,
time?
no, we talk about everything. No, there's a lot of sports talk because that's who I am and what I do. But yeah, we talk a lot of different things. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You give life. It's like a Ask Uncle Randy.
Ask Uncle Randy. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
By the
we
way-
got some of that.
Speaking of the fight, I posted a video here from the Rawlings experience, and I may or may not have inadvertently included a clue for a question in today's fight
There you go.
in the video. If you want to
Okay.
check out my Twitter, and if you want to check out the Rawlings
will. I'll check
experience,
it
it's a shocker. There's a topic today on the fight for a couple of questions. Take it or leave it. Robert Thomas scores one tonight.
Take it.
I'll take
Yeah.
it. Why not?
Number 18.
We talking a goal or a point?
This is my thing.
Goal.
It's never a bad. I'll call it a bet. It's never a bad bet that Robert Thomas will notch a point in a
Exactly.
game.
Yeah.
Never a bad bet.
What
Because
else you got, Matthew?
well, I got take it or leave it. Roman Berkey signs an extension and ends up being one of the longest tenured players at City.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Take it.
He's one of the best in the league.
Yes, he is.
How old is
keep
he?
him.
Is he just in his early 30s?
I
He's,
think I want to say he's. I want to say he's 29 or 30.
I thought he was 30 something. He's a 30 something.
33.
Oh.
He's older than I thought he was. I mean, he's still really good. He apparently really likes living here and playing here. His girlfriend, I think, lives up in Chicago, so it's not that much of a stretch for him either. So I don't think that's any much of an issue. Although Greg Berhalter, I mean, he'll have him really winning up in Chicago. He might be able to poach him away. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Greg Berhalter actually being good at something. Sorry. Take it or leave it. A defenseman scores the first goal this year at home.
I'm going to leave that.
I will leave it.
Who do you got for the first goal
Bucci.
at home?
Bucci at home.
Booch at home?
Just right off the top of my head. Just hit me.
And they're finding ways to get him the puck.
Yeah.
What
Playing
about
on the first
Kyrou?
line, the second line.
Kyrou's a good
Kyrou
call,
would be
too.
in there. I'm interested in the ovations for Broberg and Holloway.
Me too.
That'd be cool. I always look forward to an opening night and different individuals getting certain ovations.
Last year, the largest ovation on opening night went to Chief. Tonight.
I think he will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he took over, by the time he finished, they were on a 99-point
Yeah, he did really
pace.
well. He's a good coach.
He is. I mean, he turned that thing around fairly quickly and gave him a shot.
They were talking about this on the fast lane yesterday. Take it or leave it. Max Crosby is too much of a competitor. He's going to want to trade from the Raiders, and that'll shake up the NFL.
I'll take that. Yeah.
Now this texter has him going to the Ravens. He'd be perfect for them. I'm blanking.
Be perfect for everybody.
The fast lane was talking about the trade in the context of replacing Aiden Hutchinson up in Detroit for this year.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I could, if I were Detroit, I would do that. I don't know if Detroit will give up a couple of number ones. Apparently, the Raiders were already offered a couple of number ones and wouldn't even listen. They just hung up.
Wow.
What happens to Devontae Adams?
He's going to get traded. He's not even playing. He's just on the shelf.
Take it or leave it. You now feel safe to say that the Washington Commanders are going to win that division.
I'll leave that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
You're still holding out hope that the Eagles, after they fire Nick Sirianni and get the new coach bump?
I don't know why everybody wants to fire a coach that keeps winning.
Maybe because he likes to get after the fans a little bit
Andrew-
and then use his kids as shields in the post-game press conference.
Andrew Brandt had a great tweet today. He just goes, I wonder what would have happened if Nick Sirianni would have lost that game.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, the fans are already really angry at him.
Exactly.
So right now the Commanders are 4-2, right?
Yeah.
And the Chiefs or the Eagles are a half game behind them. They're 3-2. So,
I mean, the question is obviously, do the Eagles hit a stride later in the season, and does Jaden Daniels hit a wall? I mean, I think those are kind of the two big questions around that division now.
yeah, I would say so.
They say Jaden Daniels shows up at the complex at like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Right.
Every morning. He's the first guy there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Stupid.
It's amazing.
Nobody should get up that early.
Aren't you up that early, Randy, preparing?
Well, yeah, but I don't have to work until 6 at night either. He's just being stupid. He's a
I mean, it's
kid.
working well for him, Randy.
Yeah, it won't.
he's young.
It won't by the end of the season.
He's not even in a contract year. What the hell's he doing?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like Gruden showing up at 3:30 in the morning. But the best was Gunther Cunningham, the old Chiefs coach. He showed up early, ostensibly to be coaching, and he was basically reading the Kansas City Star website, and that's how he found out he was getting fired. He was on the internet when he was showing up at 3:30 in the morning.
I was up at 3:30 today.
Were you?
Really?
We have a new puppy,
What'd you name the puppy?
Fred.
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 Yeah.
The dog. You named the dog.
Fred.
There you go.
Fred,
Good.
I love. What's the
Well-
meaning behind this name?
There is no meaning.
Oh, okay. I didn't
No.
know if it was
No, we
the
just
deep
like Fred.
meaning.
And
No.
Doug is there. Doug the dog
Yeah,
is there.
we have Doug, Fred, and Junior.
Yeah.
And they all were
That's
barking at something outside, and I was up at 3:30 this morning.
That's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work.
It is
Puppy.
a lot of work.
How old is Fred?
Fred is 3 months.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
Fun.
I can't handle naming an actual puppy Fred. Like, Fred seems like the name you give the rescue dog who's like 9 years old, and you're like, he already kind of looks like a Fred. He's got a jowl, and it looks like he might have arthritis in a knee. Like, Fred just does not seem like the name for a puppy. Like,
We
I
went
can't see calling a baby Fred. This is
Well.
my newborn, Fred.
I have a friend.
What the hell?
I have a really good friend with a dog named Fred.
That's amazing.
See,
I love
Fred's a
that.
great
It
dog
works.
It is
Yeah.
a good dog name.
So
One
funny.
syllable.
It's so funny.
Just yell at him, Fred.
Do you give your dogs middle names?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was like a normal thing or not.
No, I have not.
What's Stevie's middle name?
I mean, it's Stevie Nicks, and then Thal is the last name.
okay.
So Stevie
Sorry.
Nicks
Okay.
Thal.
There we go. Coming up here,
We
on
do
101
the whole shebang for
Brooke
names.
was trying to like get out of that without admitting that. Oh, okay, yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
okay, it's
sure.
just me that
Sure,
only
okay.
gives dogs middle names. Okay.
Coming up here on 101 ESPN, the Blues are off and running in this small sample size of 3 games. Do you have a little more hope that they can be a playoff team? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
From the Rawlings Experience at Westport Plaza, this is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. A fresh perspective on the day's top stories. It's the opening drive's fresh take.
We're at Westport. We are at the Rawlings Experience. It's 8:07. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Right across the street from Westport, there is a bread co. that had this morning bread sliced cinnamon crunch bagels, which are delicious, I might add. And so we brought some. I brought some over because I want everybody to be able to partake of one of the great inventions of all time, the bread sliced bagel.
Thanks for doing that, Randy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's delicious. I was telling Randy that when I moved here to St. Louis, I think the food that I knew about the most that is St. Louisan food was toasted raviolis. Now, the sliced bagels was something that I was very surprised by, but it makes a lot of sense. I don't know how that didn't catch on more nationally.
And you think about a bagel that's sliced normally, right, where you get the top and the bottom. If you have a cinnamon crunch bagel, you don't get any advantage of the cinnamon from the bottom. So bread sliced, you get cinnamon with every single bite.
Brooke, how does this conversation go with your in-laws?
With my in-laws
Yes,
about it?
Yeah,
they love sliced bagels.
Wow, good
yeah,
for them.
is a brilliant
the
idea.
cream cheese factor is because somebody's like, well, what if I'm just
It's open early for the Blues in the Wild at Enterprise Center. ESPN game tonight for your St. Louis Blues. 2-1 to start the season. Thought about whether or not the Blues are a playoff team.
I like how they were able to come back, especially in those first two wins. You like to see that they have the ability to do that. It's really hard to just judge off the small sample size, but I really like what I have seen from these new acquisitions, especially with Philip Broberg. I think he really is the highlight here, and honestly, I would not be ability to do that.
What reinforced it for me was Jordan Binnington. He was awesome in game. It's like Jordan Binnington of being the sharp Jordan Binnington, and he's going to give you a chance to make a save and keep you in a game. So Binnington, it reinforces the idea that this can be a playoff team.
I remember last year, for basically a quarter of the season, maybe more, the Blues were in dead last in terms of goals scored.
Right.
And it took them 5 games last year to score 11 goals. They've got 11 goals through 3 games this year. Just seems to me that they, number one, is they're just a little luckier. Remember last year early in the season how snake-bit Jordan Kyrou was, hitting posts or shooting the puck over the net. And he wasn't the only one. There were a lot of them. But the Blues just couldn't score regularly last year, and they seem to have that going so far this year.
Yeah, not out of the question. And then Jordan Kyrou, 35 to 40 goals. I don't think that's out of the question. I mean, if you get those two guys.
The rugged year that Jordan Kyrou had, but his first 2 months were really bad. But in game season.
He did. Well, and you had the change in the distraction, too, which I know we talked about earlier. It seems like the NHL changing coaches really isn't a big deal. It happens all the time. But the switch over from Berube and his mindset over so far this season, I'm expecting a lot out of him. Robert Thomas to continue to step up. I also think there's a lot of interesting parts here with Texier. I know that he likely will not be available for the game today, that he's not fully cleared to go. He's another important factor there because I like Buchnevich more on the wing than I do centering, honestly. And I think that having Texier there really opens up that opportunity. Something else to watch for Brandon Saad returning. He was on paternity leave, so how much will that change things going to the game tonight? That they have dubbed, that fans have dubbed, the WTF line.
Martin Kilcoyne gets the credit for that.
Yeah,
one.
he does. And you have Walker, you have Faxa, and you have Toropchenko. That's a really fun identity line that you have there.
Well, it just shows the depth that they rolling out a third and a fourth line to give. You guys mentioned Craig Berube. I was thinking throughout the season or give Lewis. I mean, seeing it, they do whatever the case may be, but Berube back in St. Louis.
Length and size to the blue line.
And
last
speed,
year,
too.
And speed, no doubt about it. Last year, Parayko was really the only big guy that you had. And this year, you add Broberg, Matt Kessel from the beginning of the
Suter.
Ryan Suter adds some size. So it's a much bigger not a more rugged group, but just a bigger and longer group than last year's.
And think of a common
guys.
Yeah.
bruising defenseman to go back to when the Blues won. Theme when you think about the teams that have success.
And you even had Armstrong mention that they were shifting. He obviously was dealing with some injuries last season, and for him,
he put up good numbers in Carolina on the special teams, and there's no reason to think.
And Kelly, he's next on 101 ESPN.
We're talking everything St. Louis Blues as we head into the Blues booth on 101 ESPN. Presented by Boardwalk.
Danny Mac. Tonight at Enterprise Center against the Minnesota Wild. And the TV voice of the Blues, I'm Valley Sports. John Kelly joins us now here on 101 ESPN. Good morning, JK. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Randy. How are you guys today?
Everything's good. This is always a fun night. The home opener is always great.
Preseason, and based on the first 3 games of the season, the fans are really excited about this team, and they should be. They're and it's always a grand time for the home opener.
JK, we have to rope you into this because, we like hot takes and bold predictions on the show. And we were talking about this earlier. So who is your prediction for the Blues' first goal of the season on home ice tonight?
Dad Power, exactly. So he'll be pumped. He missed the first 3 games for obvious and good reasons, and had a really good camp. And it looks like he might play with Thomas and Neighbors on the top line tonight.
Who has stood out for you in the first 3 games? Who would you look at?
To look at, a couple of forwards. Buchnevich has had a fantastic start with 3 goals. And, I think was the Blues' best player in Vegas on Friday night. And Jordan Kyrou. So it's great to see him get going right off the hop. Had 2 goals in the opener. So, that's really exciting. And I think on defense, it's really good to see. Broberg's come in and played really well. He has a point in all 3 games. And, Parayko and Leddy have been steady. But he got hurt around Christmas, lower body injury, and was really never the same. And, a healthy and solid Justin Falk. I think 2 years ago, he was the Blues' best defenseman. He had a fantastic year. So to get him back 100%, playing well.
A player that you don't see every day. What are your early impressions of Radek?
Was a big reason why the Blues won the first 2 games. They were on the ice when it was 2-0 in Seattle. Former Blue Vince Dunn, and that line, I think, really changed the momentum. And they did the same in San Jose on Thursday when Fox has scored that goal. Had a really good start. And, their job is obviously to change the momentum. And if they can chip in with goals, that's a bonus. So, Fox has always is very good defensively, and he's been a nice add. So my impression is good so far for Foxa.
And what season?
Brooke, he reminds me of the way he skates of Jay Bouwmeester, and that's a high compliment because I have the utmost respect for Jay and the way he could skate and move the puck. And, obviously Broberg is a very young player, doesn't have 100 NHL games under his belt. But, he's defending really well. It looks like the chemistry that he has with Justin Falk is developing. It's been very good. And when you have that escapability because of your skating, it's a big advantage over a lot of defensemen. It gets you out of trouble. It gets you out of the zone. It gets you going on offense. So I think Broberg has come in, and as advertised, he has done a really good job. And this is a great opportunity for him. I mean, he didn't play most of last year with Edmonton, came up late in the year, and then ended up playing every game in the Stanley Cup final. So for him to come in now on a new team and play top 4 minutes, and who knows, maybe power play, penalty kill, whatever, this is a great chance for him, but he's obviously had a fantastic start.
John, as you can imagine, a lot of fans excited about the home opener tonight. As you talked about, the game is a little bit earlier this evening. What's on the schedule? What can fans look forward to? I know you'll be a part of it, the other broadcasters as well, and former players, but what's on the schedule for tonight?
A rally before the game, Dan, and, I know that the Blues want fans in their seats, by 6:20, 6:25. They have a really nice opening tonight on the video board and things like that. So, get down there early. It's going to be, nice weather, not exactly warm, but hockey weather. It's a little cool today, right? So come down, enjoy the rally, and get in your seats, get yourself a beverage and something to eat, and enjoy the grand opening and, of course, the player introductions and things like that. So it should be a great night. By the way, we're not doing the game tonight on Valley, Dan, as you know. It's on ESPN for folks who might be wondering where it is tonight on TV.
Man, you guys don't get the season opener. You don't get the home opener. What's going on here, JK?
Those rats at ESPN, Dan, right?
I'm telling you, you got to pay the bills, I guess.
No doubt. Hey, John, you've watched a lot of hockey over the years. I want to get your reaction to a text that we got because we were all anticipating that there's still room for improvement for Kyrou and Thomas specifically. They have the big contracts. And the question is, how do you know Kyrou and Thomas can play at a level that they haven't played at before? As you watch those guys, and you've seen pretty much every game of their careers, do you think that they can get better? Is there more meat on the bone in terms of their talent and their ability?
Yeah, no question. I think that a player that's, 24, 25 has a lot of room for growth, and they both have evolved very nicely. Robert had 86 points last year, a career high, 26 goals. Kyra's goal production slipped a little bit a year ago, but I think his overall game was better. I think that, big picture, I think that as they evolve, if they become better players, they'll become better 200-foot players. You can trust them in any situation, defensive zone draws, getting the puck out, getting the puck in at the offensive line. I think the one thing I'd like the puck when it's in a scoring area and not defer so much. I think they continue to overpass at times, and I'd like to see them shoot more. So I think that's the thing to me is to continue to get better with your 200-foot game. The offense will take care of itself. They're going to get their goals and points and things like that. But I'd like to see them shoot the puck more because they both have really good shots. I mean, look at Thomas's goal in Vegas the other night on that breakaway, just a pinpoint shot into the top corner. And Kyra's got one of the best shots on the team. So I think those are the things that I'd like to see them continue to do is play better 200 feet and shoot the puck more.
JK, always good to hear your voice. Thanks so much for the time. Enjoy the home opener tonight, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, thanks, Randy.
See you, John. John Kelly, the TV voice of the Blues here on 101 ESPN.
What do you think that video is all about tonight?
I'm curious. He didn't give you any hints or clues?
No, we don't have any hints or clues, and Chris Zimmerman said it's going to bring you to tears.
Tearjerker.
Yeah. I mean, you're not coming off a Stanley Cup championship, so I'm trying to figure out what would make it a tearjerker.
I do not know. We'll have to work on this. What's their catchphrase this year? They've got a new catchphrase. I don't remember what it is, though.
It's not grow with us.
No.
We went blue.
Oh, meet me in St. Louis. meet me in St. Louis. That's what it is.
Okay, meet me in St. Louis.
So
that would bring
maybe
tears
that's
to
part
your
of
eyes.
it. Okay. Maybe showing you around town.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing it back to hockey.
Right.
I'm not sure with the connection, how you do that, just off the top of my mind.
No.
But it brings you to tears, so looking forward to that. I cry a little bit before the puck drops.
Think anything with Kelly Chase. Just to try to throw it out there.
I was
mean,
thinking
some
that.
alums or something like that.
Yeah, that would make some sense. Come on, Randy, you're a smart guy.
That makes sense to me.
You didn't even give it any thought. You just say, yeah, it makes
You're
sense
like,
to
that
me.
works.
No, if you want to have a tearjerker, you like Chaser said. You
Don't do it.
He said it, not us.
Okay.
You get the Make-A-Wish kid.
Oh, get the Make-A-Wish.
That's what he said.
I know, he did.
Terrible.
He did.
I don't know. I'm trying to think what would make you feel that way. Before, I want to get the crowd pumped up. I don't want them crying before the game.
I don't know. We
Gotta
do
get
know.
Fired up.
Lindenwood University. Dan and I are both Lindenwood grads, if you weren't aware of that.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. The student orchestra performed the instrumentals for the video in front of its signature vinyl record wall that includes albums from St. Louis's own SZA. Is it SZA?
SZA.
SZA? Okay, good. Nelly and more. So
that's tonight.
That's tonight, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so check it out. We'll see if we can find something out by the end of the show.
I just have a feeling maybe with Kelly Chase, he's so good at speeches and obviously.
Oh,
yeah,
that could be it.
I don't know.
Yeah, he brought me to tears with the hype video in 2019. It was the best.
Yeah, you were crying throughout the whole thing, though.
I was hyperventilating.
You had never seen that, so you were crying.
A glass case of emotions.
Coming up, we've got the fight, and I guess we need a fighter, don't we? So, yeah, just.
Did you win yesterday, Randy?
I guess I did,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
What
a
shocking.
Yeah, text in 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO with your name and the word fight, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to fight me next on 101 ESPN.
is David. I almost said Randy because I can see Randy outside. But David, you are a fighter this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Is this your first time facing Randy in the fight?
This is the first time facing Megamind. I've gone battle, not verse him whenever he was on the fast lane, but I did beat him in my car a couple.
Does Randy Carricker roll on with a victory, a rare away victory for Randy Carricker, or does David take him down in today's fight? A very Gold Glove focused fight because, of course, we're at the Rawlings Experience here at Westport. Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
Just win, baby.
Just win, baby.
I'm sorry, David. You fell to Randy Carricker in the fight today by a score of 2-1.
Yeah, it was a good battle.
Yeah, it was a good battle. Let's
Sure
go through the
was.
questions and the answers. The Cardinals franchise went on its worst drought of Gold Gloves between 1995 and 1999. Who won the last Gold Glove for the Cardinals in the 90s? And this was the clue that was in my video on Twitter. If you were following me on the X, I should say, at Rock ESPN. That was Tom Pagnazzi who won the Gold Glove for the catcher spot in 1994. Ozzie Smith did not win it that year. He would go on to win a couple more a few years later, or he would not. His last one was the year prior, I should say. Besides Nolan Arenado, the only player to win more than 2 Platinum Gloves with 4 is Yadier Molina. Anthony Rizzo has just the 1 Platinum Glove. The other multi-Platinum Glove winning players are Adrian Beltre with 2 at third base, or 2 overall, Alex Gordon with 2, and there's one other player in the NL who I'm blanking on right now, and who holds the record for the most consecutive Gold Gloves by a fielder with 16. Randy got why I put fielder in there because Jim Cott did have 16 consecutive as a pitcher. Greg Maddux had 13 consecutive as a pitcher, which tied him with Ozzie Smith at 13. But Brooks Robinson is the one who ties Jim Cott with 16 piece or consecutive, I should say. By the way, the other player with multiple Platinum Gloves is Matt Chapman. And since 2000, which running back racked up the most receiving yards across the NFL? It is actually Darren Sproles with 4,840. LaDainian Tomlinson is second on the list with 4,772. Matt Forte's third on the list. Fourth and fifth on the list, or 5th and 6th on the list, I should say, are active players. Alvin Kamara sits at 4,320, and Christian McCaffrey sits at 44. Is going to overtake that record probably this season.
It's going to be McCaffrey.
Oh yeah, not McCaffrey this year with all those damn injuries. So a 2-1 win for Randy Carricker in the fight today. David, thank you so much again for joining the fight and joining the show.
Thanks for having me, and let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues. Thank you, David. Good to have you with us on 101 ESPN. Coming up next with Brooke and Dan and Randy, baseball's financial situation is affecting many, many teams, but the Yankees, Mets, and Dodgers all have their own TV networks. How long will it be before they're the only big spenders left in baseball? That's next on 101 ESPN. Channel 7, and they'll find it.
I'm envisioning, too, just going back to thinking about what Bill DeWitt III was talking about when he said that they were going to come up with some sort of streaming app, how that will affect things, too, and how that you're talking about Major League Baseball taking things over. So how will that look like, the partnership with Major League Baseball and the teams?
Still on, you still get it on television, but then you could pay for it a la carte, so to speak, on your phone, on your tablet, whatever the case may
No
be.
blackouts?
No blackouts. And that's the big thing that they're talking about with baseball in general, not just here in St. Louis, but eliminating the blackouts. I mean, you have to make it accessible to all the fans to see it. It's the number one
product, right? With national advertisers, kind of like the NFL. I don't think you can do that with baseball. I think baseball, and we've talked about it a million times, it's such a regional sport. I think you have to sell it regionally too. I think where the Cardinals are on their app and their channel, you have to sell it to St. Louis products. You can't, I don't think enough national companies that are out there to make the baseball product a viable national product financially. I think you need to have the local people buying.
I also wonder about, would people buy the season package, or are they going to go month to month? So if the team goes south and you're like, I'm done with this, I'm not paying my $10.99 a month to watch a team that's poor, I think there's some people that would do that too.
So if you figure, I think the question is going to be, how much is the whole season? So it's $20 a month.
You can't just rely on everybody being homegrown, and I know that a lot of teams will look.
Gave them a hometown deal. At $120 million, they're the smartest franchise.
If the Mets stayed with, I'm not sure we'd be talking in August about the Mets having the same team that they stuck with.
And they might beat the Dodgers, maybe.
Oh, they have a chance.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's Dan. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. And coming up, we're going to spend the 9 o'clock hour unveiling the Gold Glove Finalists for great year defense in Major League. For 2024.
We should probably mention how it gets to this point, how the voting works and all that good stuff. So it's voted on by a combination of managers, coaches, and the Sabre Defensive Index, which is SDI. The vote based on ballot coaches up to 6 vote for. And that looks
Severino with the Mets, just a big lumbering. Severino with the Mets, just a big lumbering. He doesn't feel like a Gold Glover to me. Chris Sale, left-hander, a big lanky left-hander, doesn't feel like a Gold Glover to me. And then Zach Wheeler of the Phillies. So Severino, Sale, and Wheeler are your 3 National League pitcher finalists for the Gold Glove.
So to me, that would mean you're taking into account how they handle a bunt play and probably how quick they are to the plate.
Yep.
To stop the running game.
I wonder if covering first has anything to do with it.
That would be part of it, too. So they take into account all that stuff in making sure that you can throw to a bag. A lot of guys can't throw to a bag.
That's true. We had one for a while, we had one of those
Carlos
guys.
Martinez.
Yeah.
Couldn't throw to a bag.
Yes, I forgot all about that.
Yeah. The team started bunting against him because he'd either strike you out or bunt because he couldn't throw to first base.
Now, here is maybe the biggest surprise of all of the finalists, okay? This is catcher in the American League. Kansas City Royals. Nope, not Sal Perez. It's Freddie Fermin from the Kansas City Royals that is a Gold Glove finalist.
Yeah, Salvador Perez, a lot of DH. They
Yep.
can move him a little bit around the infield, play a little first base, but yeah, if you said Kansas City Royals catcher, you're saying Salvador Perez.
Exactly, right? But he is a finalist of Rogers, also Gold Glove finalist.
So if I'm a manager and I'm looking at taking on one of these teams, I got to look at pop-up times and how quick you go to second base, and just arm strength. You know, that's got to come into this, and pitch framing a little bit too.
Yeah. Guys, a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now, the San Francisco Giants took Joey Bart with the second pick in the draft and looked at him as the successor to Buster Posey eventually. He was going to be the guy. He was going to be the man. Well, he washes out, and Patrick Bailey shows up on the scene and shocks San Francisco. He is a Gold Glove finalist, and 20 defensive runs saved for a catcher is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I think he's going to win it.
Yeah.
He'd be the guy. Joey Bart wound up bouncing around. I think he finished up with the Pirates this year.
He did. He had a good year for them.
Yeah.
Gabriel Moreno of the Diamondbacks, also a Gold Glove finalist, and Will Smith. I remember, Dan, you did a piece, a speaking engagement with Ted Simmons a few years ago, and he raved about Will Smith.
He did. He loved Will Smith. He said in that interview that this is Ted Simmons. He said, Yachty is a coach, manager, and player on the field. He said he's the best that's ever done it.
Yeah.
Which, coming from Ted, that means a lot.
Yachty won 9 of these. The catching finalists in the National League are Patrick Bailey of the Giants, Gabriel Moreno of the Diamondbacks, who should not be discounted, by the way. He's really good, and Will Smith of the Dodgers.
What
Patrick
do you think
Bailey is the clear one there, but
for you?
Yes.
What do you think the number one thing you want your catcher to do?
I want him to control the game. I want him to be able to handle a pitching staff.
Physical, I mean, that's more mental and thinking through the game, but the physical part would be blocking balls, throwing to second, pop-up time.
And like you said, framing now. I think framing is a big part of the game.
That's going to be interesting to me. If they eliminate, if we go to electronic strike zone, you just throw whoever you want back there as long as they can catch the ball, because you don't have to worry about pitch framing. Just worry about a guy that hits.
How do you guys feel about that if they go over to it?
I don't like in Major League Baseball. There's
because
a bunch
of framing?
Yeah. There's a ton of it.
Yeah. First of all, it's amazing when we look back at Yachty's career, everything that we're talking about, pop time, throwing, catching, framing, handling a pitching staff. He did it all.
Yes.
He did.
And not many guys do it all like that. And there isn't a Yachty in the sport right now. But I see a lot of Patrick Bailey, and I'm with you, Brooke. I think that he's prohibitive this year. He does a lot of things really well. And the cool thing about Patrick Bailey is they didn't expect
able to play that position, whether it be catcher or, I mean, Craig Biggio was a catcher.
Yeah, right.
Bryce Harper was a catcher.
Yeah.
Before he turned into an outfielder and now a first baseman. So you just never know.
So you've got Reagans, Lugo, and Canning as your American League pitcher finalists. Severino, Wheeler, and Sale in the National League. Your catchers in the American League, Freddie Fermin, Cal Raleigh, and Jake Rogers. Your catchers in the National League, Patrick Bailey, Gabriel Moreno, and Will Smith. Coming up.
That's going to be a tough. Hand goes and got it.
Stop it. Makes it look so easy.
Broken bat pop, foul ground. Arenado on the run. He's going to get there. A sliding basket catch on the warning track. Slow roller, tough play, Arenado. Bare hand grab, throw to first, and got his man. On try, hard hit. Arenado's going to go to second one. Wins throw to first, dug out. It's a double play. Even count for the catcher, Maley. Little dribbler hit toward third. Arenado bare hand. Throws to first, a gorgeous play.
That was the platinum glove, gold glove type play that he has made so many times in his career.
Welcome back to the opening drive on 101 ESPN at the Rawlings Experience at Westport. We'd love to have you stop by as we are the first to unveil the Gold Glove finalists for 2024. And Cardinal third baseman Nolan Arenado is indeed a finalist. He is back after a solid year defensively, showed himself again to be very strong defensively, and along with Ryan McMahon of the Rockies and Matt Chapman of the San Francisco Giants, Arenado is a Gold Glove finalist at third base.
Matt Chapman, not a surprise there because he has obviously been really good this season. He leads all third basemen in defensive runs saved with 17. But, Dan, you mentioned this earlier. Nolan Arenado, it's not a surprise that he's back in this conversation with what he's been able to do. He also had 9 outs above average, 6 defensive run saves this season, just 9 errors for him.
Yeah, I give him credit because it was a season that I know he was frustrated with at the plate. And a lot of times guys take that to the field. Not that that's going to matter in the voting for a Gold Glove, but you know what? He had a really solid year defensively, so give him credit. It's where he should be. He should always be a finalist, it seems like, for the Gold Glove, as good as he is. You know, one of the things we haven't seen a ton from him is his back to the infield and making those catches down the left field line.
Right.
He used to make that, it seemed like, routinely in Colorado, but the way that he is accurate with his arm, he's extremely accurate, moves left to right. Yeah, no surprise to me to see him as a finalist for the Gold Glove.
He was a Gold Glover the first 10 years of his career, and last year was the first year he didn't win one. And as you said, Brooke, Matt Chapman, numerically, when you look at the metrics, would appear to be the favorite, but Nolan Arenado obviously has the pedigree, and people will vote.
Seed of what he does defensively. He's elite seed of what he does defensively. He's elite in my mind and should have been a finalist this year for the Gold Glove.
Especially with the way that he worked with Mason Wynn. We know that Mason Wynn's arm is the big conversation this season, and you saw it. It's a show stealer. And you think about how Paul Goldschmidt really helped him in those big moments.
To everybody.
I think it's going to kind of blow my mind that at the end of it, Paul Goldschmidt's going to have 6 years in St. Louis and 1 Gold Glove.
Yeah.
That's insane when you think about how great he has been for all 6 seasons to only walk away with 1 Gold Glove out of those 6 years.
And he's not flashy. He's one of those guys that does his job. He's got great hands, great picking the ball. Rarely do you see a mistake by him. I mean, it is really rare that you see a mistake by him. And I don't know. I thought he should have been a finalist.
And Bryce Harper, who never won a Gold Glove as an outfielder, now is a finalist at first base. So you've got Harper, Olsen, and Walker as your finalists in the National League at first base, and your finalists at second base, Ketel Marte of the Diamondbacks, Bryce Terang of the Brewers, who led all of baseball, all players at any position in defensive runs saved, and Bryson Stott of the Phillies. I would think Terang probably is the odds-on favorite here.
Yeah, I think so, too, just because of the stats that you just gave him. You know, you lead in those categories more times than not, you're going to get the award.
Yeah. In the American League, your finalists at third base are Ernie Clement of the Toronto Blue Jays, Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians, and Alex Bregman, who may have played his last season with the Houston Astros.
I love Alex Bregman.
He's really good.
He's been there, I think. He signed the long-term. It is. He signed the long-term extension. I know he was there from the beginning of this run and has played through that. And his teammates have said they got to sign him long-term. If we're going to run this thing back, you got to sign him long-term. I always felt like he got more of the attention because of his bat and putting up numbers, but he's really a solid player all around. Ramirez is an interesting one to me, too, because of just his bat playing, and that's all we talk about, but really solid player.
And who would have thought when we started last season, Clement would be a Gold Glove finalist from Toronto.
Oh, I thought Earn Dog was in.
Earn Dog. Yeah, there we go.
Earn Dog's in.
At first base in the American League, you've got Ryan Mountcastle of the Orioles, Nathaniel Lau of the Rangers. I always get those guys confused. And Carlos Santana of the Minnesota Twins. Santana's been around the block. I'm kind of surprised that he's one of the finalists for the American League at first base. Mountcastle will probably win Lau and Santana.
I went with Mountcastle. We actually had this stuff a little bit earlier than our unveiling here on live radio. So
a little peek behind the curtain, if you will.
It was. I mean, you didn't want to be surprised, so we got a little bit of that early. But Mountcastle was my guy. I watched a lot of those games with him, and he's really a hell of a player.
What do you think about with Nolan Arenado and his competition? Do you think it will be Matt Chapman, or does the pedigree, is that enough to get him through?
I think it's going to be Matt Chapman.
I do too.
Yeah, I do. The reputation helps, and again, I think it's what he does against particular teams. If he's just had lights-out series, and that manager or coach looks at him and says, man, this guy is back to where he was. Again, reputation is some of this, but I do think it'll be Matt Chapman.
And then at second base in the American League, minus 21 to lead all position players. Right behind him, Andres Jimenez of the Cleveland Guardians. He was a 20 defensive run saved second baseman. He is one of the finalists along with Marcus Semien of the Rangers and Nicky Lopez of the White Sox.
I think the minus 20 or 20 defensive run saves. You always see the dash in front of it. I'm always thinking minus.
Yep, I do the same thing.
But with 20 defensive run save, that's going to be tough to beat when you look at the sabermetric. Look at how many of these players will be voted on. I mean, if it comes down to 25% of this in the vote, they're going to look at the sabermetrics and those outlying factors as being a major part of this.
And I know one of the defensive metrics the Cardinals look at is ultimate zone rating.
Yeah.
Second baseman in the American, or in all of baseball, Andres Jimenez was at 7.0 for his ultimate zone rating. The number 2 second baseman was Zach Geloff of Oakland at 3.9. So the zone rating for Andres Jimenez much better than anybody else in second.
You know, we probably need to point this out again. If people weren't tuned in earlier, you know, a lot of fans look at the lack of errors, which is a good stat, but you got to get to the ball, and meaning those that have better range are going to get to more ground balls, whatever the case may be, more chance at errors. So it is about your rating of covering ground that is a part of what goes into the equation of what we're talking about.
So you've got your third base, you've got your second base, you've got your first base in the National League, you've got your catcher and pitcher in both leagues. You've got both leagues taken care of. Coming up, we've got shortstop and outfield, and one team that's absolutely dominant coming your way as we unveil the Gold Glove for 2024 here at the Rawlings Experience and on 101 ESPN.
We decided we're not going. We're going to talk about Hassan Reddick.
Up the middle, Mason dives, slides, and throws a strike to save a run. Great play by Mason Wynn. Ground ball to third under the glove. Arenado, Wynn backs up, throws to first, and they still got it. Incredible play by Mason Wynn. Here's the 2-0 pitch. And a shot, Wynn gloves, scrambles, and fires to first. What a play. Ground ball toward Wynn, diving stop, throws to second, turn to first. What a double play. That's the only way the Cardinals turn that. Mason Wynn with the glove, a perfect feed. Up the middle, and Mason Wynn dives, throws to first. What a play. Maybe his best of the year.
Mason Wynn led all National League shortstops with defensive runs saved with 14. Second in the National League was Geraldo Perdomo of the Diamondbacks, who had 9 defensive runs saved. Wynn, defensively, by the metrics, absolutely dominated him. Mason Wynn is a Gold Glove finalist for 2024. Wynn joined by Dansby Swanson of the Cubs.
Games last season. Offensively was more of the story with him. We already saw that flash and flare defensively, what he was able to do. But now that you put it together offensively, what he was able to do this season, 57 RBIs, hitting .267 this year, 11 stolen bases, but he's really been better defensively. That's been the big story with Mason Wynn.
And the arm. That catches my attention. If I'm an opposing team, I'm looking at that arm and I'm saying, man, there's nobody in the infield with an arm like this. I mean, I think he's got the best arm in the major leagues from that spot.
And he is so good, it makes around him better. I think he made, when he was here, Nolan Gorman a better second. If he plays a whole year, if he out of it would play together as the key, I think they'd be really.
That's the I want to see. I'm okay with Nolan Gorman getting a here or there, but if you have outfielders coming back like they anticipate, then all of a sudden Brendan Donovan becomes your everyday second baseman, and that combination up the middle is outstanding.
So Mason Wynn, Dansby Swanson, and Ezequiel Tovar are your shortstop finalists for the Gold Glove in 2024 in the National League. In right field in the National League, Jake McCarthy of the Diamondbacks, Sal Frelick of the Brewers, and Mike Yastrzemski of the Giants, who's turned into a very good defensive player.
Man, has he just become a good player?
Yeah,
you
overall.
know? I remember a few years ago, and they thought, well, this is, Yastrzemski's, grandson, and it's kind of a neat story and all that kind of stuff. And then he just turned into a really good player for the Giants. So that list.
Will join really company for the Cardinals because only Maxwell, Ozzie Smith, and Edgar Renteria were the ones who have won the Gold Glove at shortstop.
And
with
all
the
were
Cardinals.
legitimately great defenders.
I mean, Ozzie's the best defensive
Absolutely.
player I've ever seen,
Yeah.
so that's pretty legitimate in my mind.
Yeah, that would be great to see Mason win, and he should. Left field finalists for the Gold Glove in the National League include Ian Happ of the Cubs, player to be a finalist this year. He joins Gabriel Moreno, their catcher, Christian Walker, their first baseman, Ketel Marte, their second baseman, along with their right fielder, Jake McCarthy, and Lourdes Gurriel, 5 finalists for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
It really shouldn't be a surprise why they were in the position that they were. You lose, and that's why Arizona has been very good the last couple of years.
Let's move to the American League finalists for shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr. So we could have, in Missouri, both of the Gold Glove.
Yeah.
By Anthony Volpe, the Yankees, and Brian Rocchio of the Guardians.
Technically Rocchio, but yeah, we'll call him Rocchio.
Okay, we will.
Did we ever establish if it's your family that has it wrong or his family? Or is anybody wrong in this situation?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Guys, think about this, though. aside from both in their first or second year in the National League, and in the American League, it's Witt in his second, in his shortstop right now.
Oh, to me, it's a transition or a changing of the guard at shortstop. We talked about that a few months ago when Mason Wynn was having his success, and you go back to a long time ago, people said, man, it's amazing to have these big shortstops. Cal Ripken being one of the first. Then you had A-Rod, you had Nomar Garcia-Parra, you had Derek Jeter, bigger in stature than some of the others, and now you're just getting these athletic. Not to say it wasn't before. It's always been a very athletic position, but I love watching Volpe of the Yankees, and I love watching Bobby Wood Jr. Bobby Wood Jr. is just a fabulous player all the way around. Probably one of the reasons that Kansas City didn't advance a little bit further is he went quiet offensively, but we're talking about defense, and he's as good as anybody.
He's leading that team right now, and you're right. He's such an exciting player to watch. It's going to be so much fun just watching Mason Wynn and Bobby Witt Jr. in the future.
Left field finalists in the American League are Alex Verdugo of the Yankees, Colton Cowser of the Orioles, who might win Rookie of the Year in the American League, and Stephen Kwan of the Guardians. You talk about a bounce-back season or a renaissance offensively and defensively. Stephen Kwan had it.
Stephen Kwan was hitting 400 for a good portion of this season. Then he got cold, but still had a hell of a year. Verdugo is an interesting guy to me from his time prior to the Yankees and then what he did in New York.
Yeah.
He's very good in New York. So, to me, it's Verdugo, which I'm probably wrong about.
And by the way, traded for Mookie Betts.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and then right field in the American League is really interesting to me. Wilyer Abreu from the Red Sox is one of them. Juan Soto is a Gold Glove finalist. You would have never thought.
Now either.
I don't either, but he's improved dramatically.
He has.
And he's worked hard at it. The other one, because a lot of people think or thought Joe Adell of the Angels was a complete bust. Joe Adell this year is a Gold Glove finalist in right field in the American League.
They thought I want to say Anaheim, but it's not, the L.A. Angels. They thought that this guy was going to be a cornerstone player with Mike Trout. And so much.
And Ohtani.
And Ohtani, that's the other one. And, sometimes it just takes a while. It's just sometimes you get a chance, change your scenery. It's all the cliches, but it's true. You get that chance, and all of a sudden you start to thrive.
So I don't blame people for being impatient, but just as like maybe the ultimate example, Jurickson Profar in 2013.
No kidding.
He and Oscar Taveras were the top two prospects in all of baseball. Jurickson Profar finally has had his breakout seasons in the last 2 years.
For like $2 million or something like that.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's one of the deals that is a steal for the San Diego Padres. But, yeah, he's turned into a very good player for San Diego.
How weird does it feel not to have any Cardinals? Of course, we saw this season there was a lot of issues in the outfield, but I feel like we've been so spoiled.
Go back to why the Cardinals won, and the MV3 is a huge reason why. I mean, these guys are hitting bombs all over the place and driving the ball everywhere. But if you look at defensively, and we go back and I think we were spoiled, how good those teams were. Molina, Pujols, Renteria, Scott Rowland, at one point Larry Walker, Reggie Sanders was a very good player, Jimmy Edmonds in center, Vigna was a very good player when he was at second base, Mark Gridzolanek in 05 was a good player when they moved him to second base. I mean, these were all really solid defensive players that propelled them into postseason play. Again, don't want to overshadow what they meant offensively, but what wins? Pitching and defense. And then if you can have boppers, that always is a good thing, but pitching and defense will keep you in games.
And you go back a couple of years ago when O'Neill won the Gold Glove in left field and Bader won the Gold Glove in center field, balls didn't fall.
No.
That happens all the time now. And we do get, over the years, because of the Cardinal way, we've been spoiled. And this is kind of the reason that they're having a minor league system is because balls do fall now.
And the rotation of shortstop position now finally locked up, for the first time probably all the way since Ozzie. You had Royce Clayton that was here for a little bit, but they went through a rotation of guys. Every single year was a new face at shortstop. And so you're talking about one of the most important positions on the field, and to get a guy that could be here for a long, long time is a big deal. And as a rookie to be part of this class, to be a guy that's a Gold Glover, that's a big deal for this club.
And we touched on it earlier in the show, but Michael Ciani, obviously, because He didn't finish out the entire season, but still, is he somebody that is a part of that conversation maybe in the future? It seems like the Cardinals still have a lot of questions with really figuring out what their outfield will look like within the next few years.
Is Siani a possibility this year? That's coming up on 101 ESPN.
pitch by Ciani to take care of Riley. And this one's scorched toward right center field. Long run, Ciani. He's on the warning track, reaches up and makes a great catch up against the fence. 1-2 pitch, rifled towards center. Ciani sprinting to the warning track.
Grand worth of stuff she has in her hand. So that's like a
In the
grand
air
worth of
towards center. Ciani dives and makes a great catch. How did he get there? That ball was a missile headed for the warning track. Smoked toward right center. Diving grab. Ciani does it again.
To the Rawlings experience at Westport Plaza. Brooke and Dan and Randy as we unveil the Gold Glove finalists for 2024. And as great a year as Michael Ciani had in his first year in center field for the St. Louis Cardinals, it wasn't enough to allow him to be a Gold Glove finalist. Jacob Young of the Nationals, Brenton Doyle of the Rockies, and Blake Perkins of the Brewers are the three center field finalists. I would think that as time goes on and more people see and become familiar with the defensive prowess of Michael Ciani, that he will get some of the accolades that these three have received. But number one, literally nobody knew who he was around the country. He was the Cardinals' fourth or fifth center fielder to start the season, right? You had Edman, you had Carlson, you had
Walker
Victor
was
Scott
here.
III.
Yep.
You had
You even had Victor Scott II at that point.
Yeah.
And Newt Barr.
Yes. So he was probably your fifth center fielder to start the season. So it was tough for him to gain ground. And then he didn't technically have enough innings at the end of the year to get the center field Gold Glove. He did have enough as an outfielder, so he did apply. But Young and Brenton Doyle and Perkins, I have no problem with any of those choices.
To me, Ciani's just got to play more.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You know, he's just got to be an everyday center fielder, which he wasn't, as you mentioned, especially at the beginning of the season. But if he plays every day, the league's going to find out about him. And what's going to keep him in the lineup is hitting a little bit more. Now, he's going to get plenty of chances to play, late innings, those kind of things, depending on if he's a starter or not. He's a valuable guy to have because of his defense. But got to be an everyday player to get the recognition for this.
I think with Michael Ciani, like you mentioned there, it's just the recognition playing every single day. But I'm still just interested to see what the outfield even looks like season for the Cardinals. Will it be Michael Ciani, Victor Scott II? He improved at the plate too, but is it enough to really win over that job over Ciani? Because we talked about this earlier. It really seems like the Cardinals and Ollie Marmol are high on him.
They're high on him for sure.
I would hope that the competition is open in center field at the start of spring training.
I think it's got to be. I don't think you can pencil in a guy and just say it's yours. I think the competition, especially between Scott and Ciani, open it up and say, go get it.
The Cardinals are not done. In the utility category, Brendan Donovan is a finalist for the Gold Glove. Enrique Hernandez of the Dodgers and Jared Triolo of the Pirates. So congratulations to our team leader, Brendan Donovan, being a finalist for the Gold Glove in the utility category.
He's already won it, so that's part of it, too. The fact is he played left, he played second. He played a little bit of third. Did we see him at first? Did he get an inning or two at first?
No, third base 9 times and right field once.
So all over the diamond, doesn't make errors. Good player, solid defensively. Yeah, why not?
Committed just 2 errors.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's I hope that he doesn't be a utility player for his whole career, though. I hope he lands a spot at second base.
That's as long as his bat is in the lineup somewhere. I'm good with it.
That's important.
Just find out where, just plug and play. But as long as his bat is in the lineup, that's where I want him.
Center field finalists in the American League, Jared Duran of the Red Sox, who was the All-Star Game MVP, Jake Myers of the Astros, and Dalton Varsho of the Blue Jays. He's a great, not a good, but a great defensive player. And numerically, metrically, Varsho should probably win
in the
American League.
Yeah, Varsho for sure.
And then for the 3 finalists for the utility player in the American League.
I'd be really interested how it's voted on with the utility side of things. Like, you know, Brendan Donovan may have seen one team this year and all he did was play left field.
Right.
And you don't see him at second base. And some of this is a human vote. It's plenty of film on him and they evaluate that way too. But if you don't see him in person playing all over the diamond.
Padres that we
no
listed
Padres,
today?
No Padres. 5 members of the Diamondbacks, 4 members of the Royals, including 2 pitchers. The Baltimore Orioles had a couple. The Cleveland Guardians had multiples, but the Padres didn't have any. Let's recap. In the American League, your finalists for pitcher, Reagans and Lugo of the Royals, Griffin Canning of the Angels. Your finalists at catcher in the American League, Freddie Fermin of the Royals, along with Cal Raleigh of Seattle and Jake Rogers of Detroit. At first base in the American League, Orioles, Ryan Mountcastle, Rangers, Nathaniel Lau, Twins, Carlos Santana. At second base in the American League, the White Sox, Nicky Lopez, the Rangers, Marcus Semien, and the Guardians, Andres Jimenez. At third base in the American League, Toronto's Ernie Clement, Cleveland's Jose Ramirez, and Houston's Alex Bregman. At shortstop in the American League, the Royals' Bobby Witt, the Yankees' Anthony Volpe, and the Guardians' Brian Rocchio. And then in the American League, in left field, Alex Verdugo of the Yankees, Colton Cowser of the Orioles, and Stephen Kwan of the Guardians. Center field in the American League, Jared Duran of the Red Sox, Jake Myers of Houston, Dalton Varsho of Toronto. Right field in the American League, Wilyer Abreu of the Red Sox, the Yankees, Juan Soto, and the Angels, Joe Adele. And the utility player in the American League, Houston's Mauricio Dubon, Minnesota's Willie Castro, and Seattle's Dylan Moore. That is your American League Gold Glove finalists. In the National League, quickly, the pitchers, Severino of the Mets, Wheeler of the Phillies, Sale of the Braves. Catcher, Patrick Bailey of the Giants, Gabriel Moreno of the Diamondbacks, Will Smith of the Dodgers. First base, Bryce Harper of the Phillies, Christian Walker of the Diamondbacks, Marte of the Diamondbacks, Bryce Terang of the Brewers, and Bryson Stott of Philly. At third base, Nolan Arenado, along with the Rockies' Ryan McMahon and the Giants' Matt Chapman. Mason Wynn, a finalist in the National League. At shortstop for the Cardinals, along with Dansby Swanson of the Cubs and Ezekiel Tovar of the Rockies. In left field, Ian Happ of the Cubs, Lourdes Gurriel of the Diamondbacks, and Brandon Marsh of the Phillies. In center field, Jacob Young of Washington, Brenton Doyle of Colorado, and Blake Perkins of Milwaukee. Your right field finalists, Jake McCarthy of the Diamondbacks, Sal Frelick of the Brewers, and Mike Yastrzemski of the Giants. And your utility finalists in the National League, Kike Hernandez of the Dodgers, Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals, and Jared Triolo of the Pirates. And thanks to our friends here at Rawlings for allowing us to be the people to unveil these finalists for 2024.
So your Cardinals Gold Glove finalists, Brendan Donovan, utility, Nolan Arenado, third, and of course Mason Wynn at shortstop. That's a pretty good roundup for the Cardinals in this season.
Yeah, we were thinking it would be 3 or 4. I thought 4. I thought Goldie would be at first base, but did not get the nod there. You know, no other club has won more Gold Gloves than since this is, I think it was 1957 was when they instituted the Gold Gloves, but no other club has won more than the St. Louis Cardinals, which is part of the success that they've had over the years. The fact is they could play defense and play it at a high level. That's why they won.
And the drought we mentioned today, 95 to 99, that's the last time they went multiple years in a row without having a Gold Glove. They didn't have one last year. I think there's a good chance with Wynn and Donovan that they break that streak and they do get a Gold Glove this year. Hard to see Arenado beating out Chapman, though.
And Whitey Herzog built his team for the ballpark with speed and defense and pitching. I still think there is a huge place in baseball for speed, defense, and pitching.
And building up the middle.
Yep, there's never been a world champion that wasn't built strong up the middle.
And we're talking about a shortstop, second baseman, obviously a catcher, and center fielder. You do that, you got a chance to win.
Yeah, and hopefully the Cardinals, catching is one thing. Notable that there aren't any Cardinals catchers that are there on that Gold Glove finalist list, and that's one thing that they'll have to shore up at some point, whether it's Pages or Herrera or somebody else. They've got Jimmy Crooks, their minor league player of the year. Maybe he'll wind up being the guy, but they need a stud catcher. That we've learned that the hard way over the last couple of years.
Contreras in that conversation too. I mean, he's got to be. You've got him for 3 more years.
Got the money.
Yeah.
But with Goldie walking, I wonder if Contreras. There's so many places you can play him now. Whether it's first base, DH, left field. I just don't think that he's at this stage of his career. Not that he's a bad catcher. I just don't think he's a world championship catcher.
Did win it with the Cubs.
He did.
I know, as a rookie. But they had a guy to work with him every single day. They had a coach that was dedicated to him. Yeah.
When not playing him. So there are obvious issues that they had. He's got a cannon for an arm.
Yep. Hey, there's a guy that's out there, a free agent coach named Mike Borzello, who was his personal coach with the Cubs. grew up in the Cardinal farm system with George Kissel. You can bring Mike Borzello in and have him be your catching consultant with Contreras. You can win with him.
That
Another
has
guy
to be a
named
focus.
Yachty, too.
Yeah, I know. That was going to say
You gotta
Yachty or
find him
Molina.
first.
Yeah.
Well, he did sell his basketball team the other day. I don't know if you saw that all over social media, so then fans like to speculate about that if that's a possibility. But we were so spoiled with Yachty behind the plate and what he was able to do.
Yeah.
It would be fantastic if he would want to come back around the organization, really help in that regard.
That'd be
Because
great.
when we're talking about player development, having some sort of catching instructor has to be on their to-do list this offseason.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Yeah, 5 of your top 30 prospects are catchers. You got to teach those guys how to play. We had a great job today by Bradford Bruns back at the station. Dodie Rallman getting us on the air here at the Rawlings Experience. Wonderful job today by the one, the only Matthew Rocky, our producer, audio, video engineer. Although you didn't have to do any video engineering today, did you, sir?
No.
Dodie took care of that.
Yeah, Dodie took care of it, and we got a lot of texts about people who were complaining about the video feed. It is what it is.
I'm
People,
gonna wave.
we're on remote. What do you want?
Studio
Like,
with-
people think we can just wave our hands. Better internet.
Yeah. Crystal clear, high definition video feed tomorrow.
How was the text line? Was it okay today?
You know what? I didn't open it for a single time in the 9 o'clock hour.
Was that right?
I didn't. I honestly didn't check it one single time.
Hey, the texters are always nice and friendly and
course
cordial.
they are.
And thankful that we're here doing a free show for them.
And we're thankful for them.
We
That's the
sure
biggest thing.
are, no doubt about it. Brooke, did you have fun today?
Of course.
How do you like the Rawlings Experience?
Oh, this is beautiful. I'm actually going to go look around and possibly do some shopping.
Good. You should come out and do some shopping today. It's a great place to be. And by the way, next month will be the Gold Glove champions. The finalists will be whittled down, and you'll have your Gold Glove winners next month, and that'll be unveiled, I think, on ESPN. Daniel, great job as always today.
Great job, guys.
That
Thank
is
you.
the great Dan McLaughlin. Thanks to everybody here at the Rawlings Experience. We do appreciate them and appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. For all of us until tomorrow morning, which is, by the way, Ask Uncle Randy Wednesday, have